Welcome to Free Live Tarot.
Yay,
Tiffany
awesome.
Fitzpatrick and Allie Bittner. Allie, this is episode 2. So today I actually have it's such a beautiful deck. So if you can see it down here, this is actually the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, but it's been redone in black and gold. So it's actually gold foil. And I'm just obsessed. And like this totally called out and was like, hey, you need to use this deck with Allie. So that being
Yes,
said,
go figure.
because it's extra and we're both just extra. So that being said, do you have a particular question that you have in mind for today's reading?
No, I'm so excited because I think you have a really unique lens into my life. So I feel like you have a lot of intuitive guidance based on that already.
Aw, okay, well then we will just see what the cards have to say for you today. So my readings typically take about an hour, so that's probably about how long we'll be here. If for some reason, I know IGTV, which is what I'll be reposting this to, has a 60-minute maximum. So if for some reason we start reaching the end of that hour, what I will do is I will just kind of cut the recording for that purpose, and then we'll finish up your reading, just the two of us, okay?
Awesome, that sounds great.
Awesome. Oh man, these cards are so chatty today. Oh, I love it. Oh, I'm so excited. Ooh, okay.
Chatty
So
like me.
like they're excited to talk, like they're excited to be seen. I love it. Awesome.
I'm
Okay.
so here for that.
So the first card that I'm seeing is the World, which is, oh God, it's such a beautiful card. I'm obsessed. Oh, the way it shimmers. Oh my goodness. So what I'm seeing here with this card for you is that you're really at the starting point for a huge shift in your life, which I think probably really resonates with you, based on what I already know about you. So
Yes.
for this card, it kind of seems like you feel like you finally have so many pieces in place. I know there's kind of been this waiting, this stalling of trying to figure out what pieces you needed and then figuring out where you needed to find them and where you needed to place them, kind of like putting together a chessboard. Like you didn't want just any ordinary chessboard. You wanted to find specific pieces that worked for you. And I feel like that you finally feel like, okay, I have all the pieces. I feel like they're mostly in the right place for now to start moving forward with the next phase. I feel like that feels really good for you, and then not just with business, but also with your personal life, with your love life. Like it just feels like across the board, you're like, okay, awesome. I finally have pieces where I need them, so I can move forward with the work that you want to do in upcoming.
That
Yeah,
totally resonates.
good. Yeah, it feels like a really fierce card. Like beware this, this bitch knows exactly what she's going after, so don't get in her way. That's kind of exactly how it feels to me.
It took a while to get there, but that's really where I think I've arrived.
Yeah, and that's exactly what the card, feels like too, is it feels like it took forever to get there, and then now you're finally there, and you're like, yes, finally, okay, let's actually do the thing. We've been trying to like plan and prepare for the thing. Let's actually do the thing. So the next card I have coming up for you is the 7 of Cups reversed. Now, when it comes to reversal cards, I really read them not really based on how traditionally you would read a reverse card. I read whatever the card tells me. Okay, and so here, what I see, it's interesting. I see 2 things. So I see scorpionic energy, which I know that you already have prevalent, pretty prevalent in your life. So I see that as a it almost feels like the finalizing piece to the perfect outfit, which sounds worse than what I mean, but I think you know what I mean. Like it's like that final piece that just pulls the whole ensemble together, and you're just like, yes, love it. And it really helps you feel grounded in moving forward, because it just feels like that final piece, like there's nothing missing. And then the second thing I see with this card is that there's like a shadow element, and it's not the scorpionic energy, it's like separate. So it's like you have the scorpionic energy, and then you have like this shadow element, and I feel like that's bringing up either a concern of something that's going to interfere in your upcoming plans, or something that's already lurking on the edges. So that might be something to look out for, because I feel like it's kind of, okay, so I'm going to say this and then I'm going to clarify. So it feels like it's an energy that when you're not expecting it, it'll kind of come in and try and kick down your sandcastle, come in and like kind of just throw some pieces out. Like it won't destroy the whole plan that you have going on, but it'll come and like mess with some of the pieces on the board if you're not prepared for that. So I say that because that feels like either the possibility or your fear. And right now it's really hard to discern those two because it feels like you've already dealt with that. And I think this might be your past relationship that we had talked about previously, of that. And so that's what I mean is like, I don't know if it's the concern that piece will come in and like mess up the board, or if it actually is anticipated. So I think just to err on the side of caution, just keep an eye out for that. Obviously don't live in fear. That's not going to help anyone. But just keep an eye out of when you start sensing that lurking, like trust your instincts. I feel like trusting your instincts is really important here. So is it your trauma and your fear coming in to mess with your head, or is it your intuition being like, hey, you need to pay attention, you have a lurker and we need to do something about it? But other than that, yeah. Other than that, oh yeah, such good things. Like, oh, maybe a move coming up,
Yes,
or at least, yeah. do you do you have a move coming up? Is it near sand? Like, is it going to be in a sandy area?
You know, I would love to move to the desert. That's a, you know, more long-term plan of mine, or long-term hope of mine, but it's big in my heart.
Okay. I love, okay, so yeah, I see like a move, but I also see something around sand. So maybe another, I know you recently took a trip to the beach, but maybe another upcoming trip, maybe a little longer, to spend a little time at the beach. And then
that actually is this weekend.
Is it really?
So you're right on point. Yeah.
That's so funny. That's awesome. I had no idea. And then I see like pretty baubles, so maybe some jewelry, which I think you were just talking to me about something jewelry related. So maybe that's just still on your mind, but I do see like just the word baubles keeps coming to me, like something pretty, like jewels, whatever. Nothing too over the top, but it just makes you feel special and it makes you feel elegant, you know, so that's fun.
Yes, you're probably right. My boyfriend has been sending me all this stuff that he's looking at for Valentine's Day without giving away any real discerning clues. So,
oh, that's so fun. That's awesome. Well, then I can't wait to hear all about your weekend trip. Absolutely. Is he like a giver? Is he like one that feels the need to like just give and give?
Yeah, he is a huge giver.
Yeah, I do feel a lot of you having to get comfortable with receiving. And because it's not just like one gift, it's like the gift and then the gift and then another gift and then a piece of a gift that's attached to a gift. Like it's like, it feels like there's just a lot there. And there's this, I feel like there's this trauma piece of, which I know we've kind of touched on that before, of there's this trauma piece of allowing yourself to receive because you're also a giver. So I feel like that's going to keep coming up for you, especially in this immediate future. But lean into it, you know, see where those restrictions are, where those that resistance is. When you have that resistance to receiving, just see where that is, like where it's at in your body, and maybe why. Ask, why is that coming up for you? Because obviously it's not on the boyfriend. It's something within you that's like, oh, I can't receive that. So maybe just ask why, because I feel like it's twofold. Like, it's obviously you want to receive gifts because you love your boyfriend and he loves you, but at the same time, it's almost like a growing exercise. And I know you're in this time of growth and expansion. So fun little lessons for us, for us to experience.
Yes, and I know why. It's totally a lot of trauma related there. But I told him too. I was like, when you send me stuff and you tell me to go shopping, I get really shy, and so we're talking about it.
You know what? That's a huge fucking win, though, for you to just even say, hey, I get really shy when you tell me to go shopping. Like, just even admitting that and having that vulnerability within your relationship, and even just audibly for yourself. That's amazing. So that's a win right there.
Thank you. You're so good at celebrating my wins.
Well, I think you're really good at that, so it just makes it a lot easier for other people in your network and in your circle to also lean into that. So I think you bring out some amazing qualities with people that are in your circle. So
thank you, Tiffany.
Okay, so the next card I see coming up is the 10 of Cups, and I love this. So I don't know if you can tell, but when I laid this card, I laid the cards intuitively. Basically, the cards kind of tell me where to place the next card and how to place it. So here, you remember that shadow element that was here? This next card literally just covered that right up. And what that says to me is you're at a point where you're leaning into healing trauma, and even trauma that maybe you didn't quite realize was even there. So this is literally, as you're continuing to heal trauma and release fear, you're completely letting go of that shadow, that shadow lurker energy, and you're embracing all of the happiness that you have dreamed that would be yours, but like, because of the trauma that you hadn't quite been able to work through, you didn't know if it was going to be yours anytime soon. So you're on a really good path to look at the trauma, to look at the elements of fear that have been holding you back, and finally heal those, face those, and release those. And that's incredible, because I see you moving into such a time of happiness. I feel like, there's still going to be day-to-day, like, normal bumps in the road and whatnot, but overall, like, you just having this sense of relief, like this deep sigh, like, I'm finally past all the bullshit, and seeing that it's no longer like about struggle or the day-to-day struggle. It's like, what the fuck do I want my life to be? Because now I know I can make it whatever the fuck I want it to be. And that's empowering as hell.
That is so reassuring, and your intuition is so on point. Like, this morning I woke up and I was journaling about fear this morning.
Were you really?
I really was.
I love those pieces of validation. I love those pieces of validation. Thank you. Amazing.
Absolutely. Okay. This is super reassuring, because I am starting to feel like I see the light at the end of the tunnel with relief from that kind of day-to-day struggle. And I'm really leaning into like taking a lot more intuitive action and just being in the flow of life.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Gosh, the synchronicity, I just, and I feel like this card is the perfect card to come up with this deck, because it's like all of your desires, and even the desire to have desires coming up in gold leaf. Like it's literally a gold fucking card, and it's popping up, and it's like, hey, not only do you have a gold card, but you have a gold card telling you that you have your desires coming through for you, but more importantly, that you have the belief that you can even like desire the desires. Does that make sense?
Totally. It really awesome. Feels like a culmination point for me right now.
That's awesome. All right. What else do we have? Do you have any questions so far of anything that we've covered? By all means, like stop me anytime and be like, hey, I have a question. Can you clarify? Like by all means. So do you have any questions as we move into this?
You know what? These cards are clarifying themselves right now. So I don't have any, but I'll definitely let you know.
Awesome. Okay, thanks. Queen of Wands, such a beautiful card.
I'll take all the queen energy over here with you today.
That's right. You did call me a queen on, which is funny because like for just a second I was like, oh, that's, you know, that's me, which I'm not usually depicted as the Queen of Wands in my, you know, in my reading. So that's funny. But that's, you did call me a queen on your story, which thank you for that. I honor that and I accept that. But yeah, so this is, I do see myself in this card, but it's not just me. Like I feel like it's not only the queens that you inspire to be queens, but it's also other magical colleagues and collaborators that you work with coming in and showing you their skills, their gifts as you continue to expand your spiritual, your spirituality and your personal gifts that I know that have been opening up for you. So I really feel like it's not just that you inspire queens to be queens, because you do, but it's also your innate queenliness, and it's all of these gifted individuals coming through, and you kind of like learning adjacent of what your gifts are and how to tap into them and what it feels like to tap into them. And that really, I feel like that really helps you moving into this new time in your life, because not only are you working on healing trauma, but you're also working on tapping into and understanding these gifts that you've always had and just kind of like didn't really do anything with because you didn't really know what to do with them. Does that resonate?
That totally resonates. Like community has been such a game changer for me recently, and we're both MGs, so having other people to bounce ideas off of and hold up those mirrors for me has just, you know, been such a game changer, and it really feels like divine timing in that sense.
Yes, divine timing for sure. I mean, even thinking about when you decided to start the server, to start the lounge, and just all of the progress, like just the rapid progress that's had. Yeah, I think that's bringing in all of these woo, you know, this woo collective and this business collective and merging them and allowing that to inspire you to also do the same within your own rebrand and your own business. So it's just like seeing all of these pieces kind of lining up is beautiful as fuck.
Yes, you're just totally on point with all of that. And it was you know, not something that I was super like trigger happy about initially, and then it came up in a reading that, you know, community should be a priority for me, and that was around like the springtime or the summertime. And once I really embraced that and leaned into it, it was a complete catalyst in my transformation.
And leaning in, that's such a key point. I'm so glad you said that. Leaning in, absolutely, because that is the catalyst. That's like you making that agreement with not only yourself but the cosmos of, all right, I'm all in, let's do this, bitch. So that's awesome. Okay, so I see here, this is a page of wands and it's reversed, which to me really signifies you looking back. And by looking back, I mean finally feeling like you're allowed to, but also ready, like allowed to, but also ready to look back at what you've been through and those points that were really strong for you, for trauma, for what it feels like to me is like yes, it's the trauma, but it's looking at how it made you the person you are today, and looking at what you're ready to release from that and what you're ready to keep. Like actually being able to have, instead of it being like, oh, these experiences shaped me, yes, but now I have the conscious decision of what habits and what skills and what mindsets do I want to keep moving forward, and which ones am I ready to like make peace with and release. So looking back feels like a very heavy, almost like an overlying focus for your immediate future, which makes sense because I know you're starting your therapy and your shadow work journey. So that's really coming through here is really that sense of, hey, yes, I have all this amazing shit going on, but also over top of it, my focus really is looking at those pain points and releasing what needs to be released, and consciously deciding what I want to take with me into the future and how I can incorporate that in my personal life, my relationships, as well as my business. And so I feel like I love that we can see that at least for the next 3-4 months, at least, that being a very over the top, like it just feels like icing on the cake. This is the main focus, but yes, there's a lot of other shit that's amazing underneath.
Yes, you are totally on point. Healing is really gonna be my priority for like the next 4 months, and I'm so excited to work with some professionals because I feel like that will be really helpful in me getting really discerning what I want to pick and choose.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree with that. Like I can really see that that's part of this, of you're not just telling someone, okay, I'm ready to deal with my past. You're making those I'm trying to think of the right word. So you're like grounding yourself and centering yourself in the decision of finding, like I said, finding those right pieces of, yes, I want to figure all this shit out, but I need the right people to help me do that. And being conscious and present with, is this relationship working? Is this collaboration working, or do we need to make some adjustments? So you're really taking the lead in your own healing rather than looking to someone else to kind of take the lead on that, which is strong. And that really comes back into that queen energy that we see, of you taking responsibility and ownership and sovereignty in your own healing process over the next several months.
Yes, that's totally where I'm at. I'm going to be a healing boss for the next 4 months.
Yes, absolutely.
That's so great to hear. Because, a little bit too, I worry, I don't want my perfectionism to get in the way. So to hear that, these specific pieces are good is reassuring.
Yes, awesome. It's interesting. So as soon as I laid this card down, you said your perfectionism. You were concerned about your perfectionism. So this is the devil card. And what I see here actually is some of that perfectionism. Those traits that you're concerned are going to delay you or get in the way, or cause you to not move at that rapid pace I know you prefer. So looking at some of those traits, and finding which traits you love about yourself, forgiving yourself for the traits that you don't really love about yourself, and seeing how, if there's another way to look at the traits that you don't like about yourself, is there another way to look at those? Maybe the reason you don't like those traits is because of someone else's perception that long ago adjusted your mindset to make you think that those weren't good. For instance, your mind going a mile a minute. I don't know if I'm kind of leaning into my intuition here, but I feel like that might be one where you're like, oh, I probably should try and focus rather than have my mind go a mile a minute. But at the same time, is that a perception that someone else placed on within your mindset that you now can look at and be like, okay, do I dislike that trait or that ability because I dislike it, or because someone else told me that I needed to dislike it, and making that decision for yourself.
Oh, I love that point because that's really such a vibe for me right now. I think I've resisted a lot. I've just created a lot of resistance around my perception of what other people have expected of me. And there's just a lot of inaccuracies there. And so now I'm really starting to focus on, what it is that I really want and what feels aligned with me. And Keisha has actually been a huge inspiration for me with that because I feel like she's kind of like pioneered that path, and I watch her and I'm like, you're so right.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So yeah, I feel like that's going to be a part of this whole journey for the next few months, is because you've kind of been triggered to have this awareness now of, why do I do this? Why do I act this way? Where did this come from? And you're looking back at where that came from. So what I see here is that you also starting to expand that awareness to your traits, to your characteristics. And when it comes into your mind of, oh, I wish I wouldn't do that, or, oh, I don't really like that about myself, let that be a trigger to stop and think and be like, okay, but do I dislike that? And why? Where did that come from? Can I do something about it? Or do I just need to accept and forgive and love myself and integrate that and move forward? So I see that as like an expansion of that awareness ability that you're moving into.
Yes, that makes so much sense because I think I told you a few months ago that I was just allowing myself to exist in observation of myself, and I've been doing that, and now I feel like I'm reaching like this level 2 of that. It's like I touched on the surface over those months, and now I feel like I'm getting one level deeper in building my awareness, and it's so crazy because it's like everything that I thought I learned on level 1, it's suddenly being reframed in an entirely new way. And it's just like this crazy evolution.
Yes, absolutely. And that you really hit the nail on the head, because you're absolutely right. It's like, so with my shadow work and with my shadow coach, and my shadow coaches, that's one thing that's definitely come up in conversations in some of their lives and their content, and that made total sense to me. And now you bring it up, is it's like you go through the video game, you go through each levels of the video game, and you get to the big boss, and then you handle the big boss, and then it's like, okay, well now I'm at level 2 of all of these different gaming levels, but they all look the same, but they're just a little bit harder, and you see them in different contexts. Like, does that make sense? I know you're a gamer, so I hope that made sense to you, but I'm just like you're in the same location, but now it's harder. You have, the villains, the bad guys are moving faster, and you have to like really hone in on your skills. So yeah, it's exactly like that. Like you're experiencing these awakenings and these shadows, and then you have to experience them all again, but in like a completely new and like deeper way. So that's amazing that you're picking up on that before you've really even dived in to a lot of the heavy work that I know you're planning on for the next few months. So that'll really benefit you moving forward. Is like, oh, I've seen this before, I'm probably going to see it again, let's make a note of that. So, and that's phenomenal for you.
Yes, thank you. It's so funny because in that level 1, I was like, morning routine. I'm gonna get my morning routine intact. And now I'm in level 2 and I'm like, morning routines are bullshit. I hate them. So it's just like really everything's getting really refined.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I feel like morning routines sometimes are what we think we're supposed to do, and yet it's not really what we want to do. You know? Does that resonate with you?
Totally. I think what I'm learning about my perfectionism is that my idea of perfection actually comes with complete and total ease when I take inspired action. And so I don't need to be as attached to this idea of perfectionism. I don't need to force it. I just need to wait for the moment when inspiration hits and take real advantage of that. So that I feel that was my, my routine now. As an MG, I think morning routines might resonate for some people more than they resonate for me. But just leaning into those opportunities to take inspired action have really been such a game changer for me. I've been putting off my logo redesign for so long, and then one night I just got the inspiration and I pumped out all of my logos in 20 minutes, which
That's
was just
amazing.
insane. And I love them. So I'm really learning about my perfectionism in that way.
That's incredible. Yes, absolutely. That you even have that insight, that awareness of, hey, this is what I need to be doing. I don't like I should be doing this bullshit. This is what I want to do, and this is what my body, my intuition is telling me to lean into. That's absolutely continue to lean into that moving forward. Also, I see a few like just low-key vibe. I know in the lounge we've talked about like doing like the 420 get-togethers, like just a low-key like wine and wine kind of get-togethers. And that's kind of what I see here, is like making that more of a priority to incorporate for that work-life balance for you. Having a glass of wine with friends, maybe having a little herbal with some friends, even if it's virtual. Just incorporating more of that into your life feels like a really great balance for all of the heavy shit you're going to be dealing with.
Oh, that's really good to know. And I'm such a social person. I didn't even think about that. But if I was going through all of that heaviness and I didn't have some kind of, social outlet, I would really be hurting. So I'm so glad you mentioned that, because otherwise it wouldn't have been top of mind for me.
Yeah, absolutely. That way, that's why I love doing readings for people, is because it gives them a kind of some insight of, this is what you might be coming up against here in the immediate future or over the next year, and this is how you can prepare for it. So, and that's a prime example of, you're going to be, which I know you, so like you're going to be like balls in with work and your schedule and like getting the shit done that you want to have done before the end of Q1 and Q2. But at the same time, I know you're going to be heavy in this healing work. And so to have that reminder of, hey, make sure as you're scheduling out your work, as you're scheduling out your trauma work, make sure you also schedule in, so that it's a priority for you, your self-care, and also your fun, gal nights, your gab fest, your wine and weed, whatever. I feel like that's going to be really important. So knowing that moving ahead, you can actually schedule that out and plan that for yourself, so that it's not like oh, I should do this. It's like oh, I've already got that on the calendar. I'm already prepared to make that a priority.
Awesome. We'll definitely have more fun nights in Creative Lounge then.
Yeah, absolutely. Any questions coming up for you?
No, not so far.
Awesome. Ooh. Oh,
Open
I
to
love
receive.
this. So yes, absolutely. So this is the Lover's card coming up right after the Devil card and all this heaviness. And what this is showing me is that all of the work that you are moving into with the rebrand, but also with the therapy and the healing work, and the work with your spiritual gifts. I feel like that's also a key point. All of this is actually strengthening your relationship, because as you move through that vulnerability, as you move through that, the what feels like really raw, why would anyone want to be with me, I'm such a drama fest, that energy, as you move through that and you process that, it actually makes your relationship stronger, because it's helping him also be like, have that permission of, oh, like she's cool with like the sensitivity, and like allowing herself to open up and be real and be authentic and be process all this shit and be open with the world. So maybe she'd be cool with me opening up. Maybe I'd be cool with me opening up. So it's like you're kind of like that spark of inspiration for him and for so many other people of, if she can do it, if she can be open and vulnerable, then that gives me validation, that gives me permission to do that. So I love seeing this, that this is like, it's actually helping your relationship move forward. And I want you to remember this card. This feels very important because there are going to come times, and I know this from personal experience as well as from your card reading, there are going to come times when you're in the shit, when you're in the feels and you're in the heavy and you're like, I feel like a mess. Why does he want to be with me? So I want you to remember that, because even if you're a mess, you're getting to the point where you're not such a mess anymore. And you deserve to be loved through all of it. The good, the bad, the ugly, crying, all of it. And you are actually showing him that he also deserves to be loved in the good, the bad, the ugly, crying, all of it. So remember that. Remember that when you're when you feel like, why does he want to be with me? Why would anyone want to be with me? Because you're going to have those feelings, and even though they're not true for you, it's going to feel true. And it's important to look at that and be like, okay, I know this is how I'm feeling right now. Yes, I feel like a hot mess, but I'm lovable, I'm loved, and I love myself. And just remember that this is strengthening your relationship with yourself. It's strengthening your relationship with your scorpionic energy, and it's strengthening your relationship with your family.
Oh, that is so great to hear, and it makes a lot of sense. In my relationship, we just feel like such a team. It feels like such an equal partnership compared to relationships I've had in the past, and I feel like we are both really growing together. And he is a Scorpio, so he's like, he wants to get into the little corners of my mind, and he wants the good, the bad, and the ugly, and he just wants to know it all.
That's
so
awesome.
I think it will be I think you're totally right. I think it will be a cool period of time for him to kind of witness my transformation as we're growing together.
Yes, absolutely. And that really plays out in the cards here. That's a really, really key point. And I feel like maybe there's one, maybe two more cards, depending on if you have like a really burning question for what's coming up for you. Do you have that question on your mind already?
No, I don't have a question on my mind.
Okay. Well, let's see what comes up. Oh, okay. So from this is the Hierophant coming up, and it's right side up. Okay, so I see a couple of things with this. One, I see a sense of relief in relation to justice, like feeling like things are settled, feeling like you're okay with the justice that has come out, the justice that has been determined, like you're okay. And I don't know if it's a karmic thing, like you're just like okay with the nature of things, or if you just find peace in whatever actual justice is delivered. But that feels very key here, is there's a decision of justice, and you having like a sense of relief about that justice, like you're okay with it. And then the other part that I see to this key is embracing the unknown and the aspects that you are unable to control. And what I mean to that, does that resonate?
Totally. Like, your intuition is so on point right now.
Thank you. I will take that validation. Thank you.
Seriously.
I feel like maybe, especially with some of what you have been through, I feel like maybe relinquishing control is difficult for you. And you really have the opportunity to, and I don't feel like it's immediate. I feel like this is closer towards the end of that 3-4 month period. So it's closer towards the end of like your deep dive into healing, closer, like, and it feels like it's around the same time that you have that sense of release. That sense of relief around the justice aspect. You start to realize that there's shit that I can't control. And rather than that making me feel anxious or unsafe or just wanting to like put it out of sight, I'm ready to just be okay with being in the energy of not being able to control something and just accepting it as it is. And at the same time, leaning into the unknown, which that kind of feels like it goes hand in hand for you in this respect of being able to like just sit with the I can't control everything feeling is at the same time leaning into the unknown for you. Leaning into the unknown of, and I feel like this kind of ties back into your spiritual gifts as well of, well, I don't know what to expect. Like, I don't know where to start with the learning. I don't know where to start with like the getting in touch with my intuition and my gifts and my sight, etc. And in a lot of ways, because you don't know where to start or you don't know how to dive in, you just don't do anything. You just like pause, put it aside, and work on something you do know how to do. And this is very indicative of you stop running from the things you don't know how to control. And you're just like, all right, let's just dive in. Like, we'll figure it out. I think you kind of start to realize like, you know what, when I don't know what I'm doing, when I have to dive in, when I have to jump in with both feet, I just figure it the fuck out. But I don't think you've realized that until now. And that kind of opens up the door to, I don't have to know where to begin or how to begin. I can just start and I'll figure it the fuck out because that's what always happens. You just didn't make that connection before. Does that resonate?
This totally resonates, and I have to tell you, I really feel like you're picking up on a pretty kind of like pivotal period in my life. I, was in a situation where we were seeking justice in maybe like October, and that was, justice was delivered in a very non-traditional, unconventional way. It wasn't the kind of like straight and narrow, okay, justice is served. But it ended the way that I felt like it was actually best for things to end. I got justice in a way that brought me the most peace, even if it didn't look super traditional. And right around that time too, I feel like in my relationship that my partner teaches me that a lot. He has tattooed the word surrender, and I think I totally have an issue where I like to kind of control things, and I went into the relationship bringing some of that energy. And I was actually driving in the car one day, and I got a message from my guides, and the message from my guides was like, just let him be him, just let him be him. And when I started to do that and I just like fully surrendered, I was like, oh, it makes sense now. I literally just have to let him be him, have like all the freedom to do his own thing, because when I do, like, he's totally magical, and like even if it doesn't look like there's magic incoming, like all of a sudden, he just brings about this kind of magic. And then I feel like that kind of lesson really started to translate into all these other areas of my life, like you said, with the spirituality. Once I decided to just surrender and let go, like all of these things came flooding in. My intuition started just lighting the fuck up. Like I was getting downloads left and right, and like faster than I could even make sense of things. So I think you're totally on the money with all of that.
Fabulous. So how just a minute ago we were talking about how you realized that you had dealt with things and then they came back and you had to like kind of deal with them and incorporate them in the here and now. I feel like this is also going to come back. Like, I love that this kind of is like, are you familiar with like the Ouroboros symbol where like the snake is eating the tail?
Maybe vaguely. Yes.
Okay.
Is it medical stuff?
Yes, I think it. I don't know if it's on the medical staff, but I think it is a medical symbol. I might be wrong on that. It's a symbol that I've seen a lot in lore, but it's a snake, and it's like it's a circle created by the snake because the snake is eating its tail, and essentially what that means is like things circle back around, which makes sense. Like that's literally our lives. But yeah, as things circle back around, that's exactly what this feels like. This feels like a complete circuit for you of this is tying into where you were a few months ago of having that sense of justice was met and you're at peace with it, having that sense of just surrendering. And I feel like it's also going to come back again for you within the next few months, for you to deal with yet again, and have yet another one of those awakenings. And it's kind of perfectly timed out because it's coming back around at the end of your deep dive into your trauma, and at the end of I know you're taking a break from some of your client work, so it like kind of comes back to just the finalizing piece of, okay, you've dealt with the trauma, or at least you have a really good handle on it. You've taken that time off from work for yourself to get your priorities and how you want set up. You've been doing the rebrand, and now you're ready to like relaunch, and you have yet another breakthrough of the connecting with surrender, connecting with your spiritual abilities, having that awakening, that leveling up of your spirituality and your gifts, as well as leaning more into the unknown. So like you said, you've dealt with that, like that came up, but I feel like it's also going to come up again, and it's going to be just as powerful as it was for you the first time, when you just kind of like let go and you listen to your guides, and then like you just had so much power and intuition come in and downloads, and just a real awakening. So I love that, like I said, that the snake eating the tail, that real complete circle for you.
Yes, and you actually just made me think of a question that I do have whenever you're ready for it.
Yep, I knew it was coming. Go ahead.
I am my question is, you felt whether or not I should go back into corporate a little bit and dip my toes back into corporate. I went through a little period of like really mourning my corporate job. A few wondering is this going to benefit me or is it going to disadvantage me?
That's an excellent question. All right. Yeah, I knew, like I could feel that there was a card, but it needed a question. So I love that literally came right when we needed it to.
Yes, your intuition is on fire.
Thank you. Okay, so what I have here is the Seven of Swords reversed. So if you can see this card, so yeah, hold on. Yeah, so for me, I cannot with this camera. I cannot with this camera. Okay, we're gonna just put it down. I'll send you a picture of it. I love this. God, these cards are beautiful. So what I see here is
gorgeous.
I'm obsessed. I'm so obsessed with these cards. Yeah, so what I see here is you're making a practical decision to try and find that, like, go back into corporate, because you liked. I feel like you're thinking about the pieces of that time in your life that you liked, but at the same time here it feels like a no, and I'm going to explain why. Yes, you would have a couple of things that would be like, oh, this is, I love that I have a little more money for the things that I want to do, and I love that I have a little more freedom, and the social aspect. That's what I can't think of the right word. The social aspect of it, which I know is very important to you. But at the same time, I feel like it would be very easy for you to get pulled into doing more work than you're intending to, and doing more work for the corporates and not as much work as you want to for your business. And I feel like that will make you feel guilty and unbalanced. I know there's a lot that you want to accomplish within your own work, within your own business. So I think going back to corporate, even part-time, unless you set really firm boundaries with yourself and with whoever you work for in the corporate world, I feel like it is going to be a situation where you start getting overwhelmed with work, and you, oh, are you still there? Oh, there you are.
Yes,
okay.
It was just breaking up a little bit.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think I need to update my internet. We'll take care of that.
No worries.
Yeah, so what I see here is you feeling very overwhelmed with the work that you would be doing at the corporate job. So unless you set really firm boundaries with yourself and really firm boundaries with the corporation that you work with, I do feel it as you having that overwhelming sense of, I don't have enough time for everything that I want to get done and I need to get done, but also feeling like you're putting more work into corporate and not as much work.
Oh no, I think the audio just cut out.